Well, what I'd like to come on here and share this evening is that I'm in the shop tonight. I will say it's kind of a little different here tonight because, well, anyway, I might mention first of all that whenever the last video I recorded got uploaded to Amazon Photos, I think that I was in Starbucks with my tablet and probably didn't give it enough time to upload, so I wasn't able to download it from Amazon Photos to my computer and then upload it to YouTube. But by the time this video is uploaded, the last one will be. So by the time you're hearing this, it will more than likely be that the last one and this one will already be uploaded. But there is a little addition I want to make since the time that I recorded the video I recorded yesterday. What I will first of all mention to you is that there's been a little bit of stuff which I've kind of taken some time away from the camera to do. I will say that there's probably been times when I wasn't always sure just how much I'd be in the mood to do in front of the camera, or even that I could keep a knife sharp enough to do it all in front of the camera. But there has been a little different way I've had of keeping knives sharp, because for one thing I do need to mention to you is what I think I figured out the last time around. You see this stone, it is getting real curvy and groovy. It has been used for so long that it is probably no longer smooth enough to be able to do any fine sharpening. So I have ordered another stone that should be coming soon, and I have also ordered a couple more knives. I'll tell you the story about that as I'm going about this, but I had to work on a couple more steps to one Mary and Joseph set this morning, and then resharpen the two knives or three knives I had left after that. These two, I have to say, are getting so old. This one, as a matter of fact, is getting kind of bent, as you can see, and this one was one that got chipped off years ago when I was trying to carve a wood that was too hard, so I kind of had to repoint it and carve it a different way. But these are the three that are still good, and I've ordered two more, so hopefully we'll have 5 good ones come soon. But I do need to mention what I've done with these is I have already sort of carved out the backs and carved these little places on the back corner here, and that is something which, as you can see on these, there's a little triangle line that has been made on each side, and a place where there's a little mark there that is going to be cut off in the end to cut the corner. And I'm coughing a little bit, so we'll need some water. However, I do think it's probably good that I get to be in the shop tonight, because, and I sip a little coffee too while I'm doing this, but that's because, anyway, I will say that there's just a few more things I'm getting to remember at my work. The thing of it is that, you're paid to do the job, so, you have to do the job right. You have to learn it. Sometimes there's just steps to learn. I've got a few new steps to learn. That's just the reality of it, but it is getting me kind of tired sometimes, and probably to the point where, as far as being in Starbucks is concerned, I probably told you about how that in the location I've been frequenting, that it's just been girls that work at night, and a lot of girl talk goes on. Kind of an old man, and it'll just kind of wear me out sometimes if I'm around it too much. So did decide that tonight I just kind of needed a break from it and needed to kind of go about my work. So, I think that's probably for a good reason. And so, we're going to go about this step here. To tell you a little bit more about the knives, I'd like to mention that there were actually 3 different ones I looked at, maybe 4 or 5, but some of them just had such expensive shipping that I didn't get them. And there was one I was able to purchase yesterday where it was a $20 knife with only about $6 shipping on it, so that would have been only $26 that I paid for it altogether. That was an affordable deal. And I'd mentioned that there's been one that I've also come across that it just so happened when I went to the Woodcraft website yesterday, I looked at it, but when I found out what shipping would cost, I didn't buy it. Then I got an email from the site giving me a code to use, telling me to come back and use that code and get free shipping. So, of course, I did that, and that means we're going to have 2 more to replace the old, because like I said, those 2, they're just getting so old I can't do much with them, but there's no telling what I could do with those. Maybe just be able to carve little gifts out of them, maybe. And given the fact that one of them's red, I could carve a little Santa out of it or something like that. And just kind of be able to let people have it as a little sentiment based on a knife that I used to carve with. Just like before I started really making products out of jeans, I'd sometimes take the old jeans and take the leather off of old jackets I used to wear and sew a little pillow that had a pocket on one side and leather on the other side. And so that was just kind of ways I'd give my friends little sentiments of my clothes sometimes. So that was how that worked, and maybe give them little sentiments of my knives too. But as you see here, I have taken one of the Josephs and I have shaved off that area in the back. Now I'm going to take one of the Marys and do the same with her and try to shave away all this little area here. If you ever seen a certain video I did, there may have been a place or 2 where might have done some of these same steps with the shepherd. The shepherd doesn't have all the same steps as Mary and Joseph, but I will say that there's going to come a video where you will get to see me carve an angel of this, because I've got an angel to make for my mom's friend. She kind of came to one of my shows one time and she purchased a little nativity from me, and there was one lady and her husband and her kids. They knew me from a singles group I used to attend back when the lady and her husband were still both single. So it was years ago. They purchased a nativity from me that was carved out of Western cedar, a Mary and Joseph and a baby Jesus. Then there was a shepherd I was selling. It was either a butternut one or a sassafras one with the lambs made out of either basswood or buckeye, whichever it was. And they purchased that from me to go with their Holy Family set. So I say, as I carve away on this, this is going to come out better. I'm working on this, getting it so much better now. And I say there's a lot of work to come out here, but it's all going to work for the good. Now you see I've gotten that little area carved out of her back. So there's a next step to take. You see there's a little line I drew on there, which that is something we just simply chip off just like this. Did a few of these this morning and got that work to come into it just fine. There's probably going to be another step or two we're going to take after this. So hopefully if we can keep the knives sharp enough, we might be able to do it with one of these figures, but more than likely not with both by the end of the video. But what I do need to show is that you can see on these that I have drawn these little lines in where you carve along the inside of the head. I already did that. Let's see. Well, I mean, I'd say I did that with one Mary. Haven't done it to the other Mary or to either of the Josephs. So let's do it with this Joseph here. We're going to start along this line here and carve up to where we shave off up to this line here. The work comes a long way. It makes its way into our lives and into our hearts. I say that there's little things I'd tell you about my little niece, you know. Sometimes I love her when she's here. She's only 2 years old, so she can kind of drive me crazy a little bit while she's here. But, you know, she goes back home to Ohio, and I kind of miss her. Like I was having a conversation with my parents the other day, you know, that babies just find a place in your heart. Not going to be too long till she won't be a baby anymore. She'll be 3 in February, so it's kind of one of those things where they just get past that baby stage at a certain point, and you kind of got a little more to show, a little more to learn, a little more to know. But I tell you, she's just as sweet as she can be. You know, she'll kind of shy off a little here and there when I come around, but you know, she's going to get a little more used to me the longer she's here. She's gotten to where she knows who I am now, but sometimes babies still have to get used to you, even if they know who you are. She calls my mom Granny, she calls my dad Pawpaw, and she just calls me Jonathan. But when she gets bigger, she'll be able to say Uncle Jonathan. It's kind of how I've heard how it is with kids, you know. My sister works with so many kids in the school system, so she knows how they kind of learn names little by little and start to kind of say other names as they grow older. One day, my baby niece was just waking up from her nap in my mama's lap, and she was saying, Jonathan, Jonathan. She said, yes, it sure is. My mom told my niece about a conversation we had before she was born, where she said, oh, Jonathan was afraid you weren't going to be able to say his name, but you're saying it just fine. And I said, well, actually, I knew she'd be able to say my name. I knew plenty of babies that did that. I said, I was just afraid that Uncle and Jonathan together was going to be a little too much for her to say. And my mom said, well, she'll say Uncle when she gets bigger. Then she muttered, Uncle. And then my mom said to my niece, did you just say Uncle? So I say that there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn. You know, I don't remember too much from when I was a kid, but, you know, there were times when my sister kind of had those thoughts about her kids when she would grow up and have them. So I will say as she's gotten older, she hasn't had them. She never could afford them. But there's just a lot of stories. So much we don't say, so much we don't talk about, so much we don't discuss on video, you know, so much we don't publicize. I mentioned, however, that a little work never hurt any of us. Maybe I say there's a little time when I can get a little break from going certain places just to kind of get an evening. I can kind of stay home in the shop and carve, because sometimes that gets to be the better way to go. I'll get back to talking about a little bit how I sharpen with the strop, you know. Sometimes, just sometimes, when you don't have a stone or anything like that to sharpen with, sometimes it might get to the point where, you know, you can still sharpen with a strop alone, but you might need to sharpen a little longer. That's how I've been doing with these knives lately. I've been sharpening them just on the strop, but I've been taking a little bit more time with them. They say you should do about 50 strokes of the knife on the strop, and they say with the strop that for every 30 minutes of carving, 5 minutes of sharpening is suggested. So I'd say that that's kind of the reason I sharpen 2 knives, or 3 rather, with the strop. I wasn't sure exactly how long this video was going to take, but I did want to kind of get enough work done in a video to be able to show what all was going to be done. So I got 3 knives sharpened up to take along to it. I do think there's been things in life I've had to pray about to God and reconsider, so I'd say that's, I think, how it kind of turned out tonight. I probably wasn't feeling too good, so decided to kind of reconsider things and maybe just kind of take a night off from going out. Maybe take another tomorrow. Maybe be back on the weekend. Anything's possible with me. There just sometimes does get to be a lot to recover from sometimes, and you know, when you kind of get back to working, you just kind of get to the point where you kind of need to change things up a little bit. I do say that I've got shows coming up. I've got shows in September, shows in October. Probably got 1 or 2 that I may be doing in November. There's one in November I'm definitely signed up for, but there's probably going to be more to come along the way. There's probably 1 or 2 I've signed up for. One, I was able to get a free spot outdoors, so it was kind of one little thing that worked out for me. It might be cold that weekend, so if it does get too cold for me to stay out, might even go inside to warm up, or maybe even just kind of take my stuff down and leave. We never really know how some things are going to go. There are some shows that might be out in the country on a holiday weekend where not many people will be out to shop, and I'd say if it's the Saturday after Thanksgiving like one of them is, people just might be out to do their Black Friday shopping, so that's kind of the way that's going to work. Couldn't be doing much this year. Don't think I'd be prepared for Cyber Monday even if I did, so we don't know what's going to happen with shipping over the holidays, but anything could just happen because, you know, all because of the war of Russia and Ukraine. It's like gas prices have gone up, so that might affect certain delivery prices and how anything's going to work, how anything's going to go, and so we just kind of gotta do some stuff the best way we can. Last year, just to kind of get ahead of what the shipping costs would be around the holidays, sent out a few holiday care packages a little early last year, just to kind of get ahead of the rush. And I'd say maybe when things get better, I might be able to post stuff on Etsy again, maybe to try to sell. Don't know just yet how that's going to work or how that's going to go, but it's the kind of thing where I think of all things, I'm just going to try my best to do my best, and maybe even if things get back to normal with shipping over the holidays, might even be able to get back to taking care of that. I know it's a real busy time for postal clerks at that time of year. Sometimes so many people have to use the kiosk at such a time of year that sometimes the kiosk box gets full and they have to overload the inside desk at the post office. I will say that, at least for this video, I've gotten done with all the carving I wanted to do. And as for how these are turning out, I'd say that this little piece of work kind of has gotten its work done on the end. This one too, and these as well, got all the work done into their backs that there needs to be. So might even consider turning off the video right now and let this one upload to Amazon Photos as well, so I can download it and upload it to YouTube too. See ya. Take care and goodbye.